things are going to be really easy from a performance perspective, right? We're going to get more accurate data. We're going to get longer cohorts. And Singular is doing all of that modeling work for you so that it's very easy. The report is going to be very similar to what you're used to pre-iOS 14, right? You have your model data. So even if you don't pass crowd anonymity, like we're filling in those gaps for you. And you have your D7, your D35 cohorted data. So I think it's as easy as it gets. I don't think it's like a big, fat, easy button, but I think we've done the best we can with all of the limitations and restrictions.
SKAN 4 conversion models are now live in the Singular dashboard. Hello and welcome to Growth Masterminds. My name is John Kutz here. I am way too excited for this episode. I don't fanboy very often, but I'm kind of unleashing my inner Caesar Flickerman here. It's so exciting. We've been talking about SKAN for, seems like years, talking. Now it's time to show and to do. SKAN 4 conversion models are now live and configurable in the Singular dashboard. To chat about it, we have Singular VP of Product, Evyatar Ram, and Product Marketing Manager, Kelsey Lee. Welcome, Evyatar. Welcome, Kelsey.
Thanks, John. We're also super excited for this SKAN 4 release. Yeah.
Awesome. And Kelsey, you had a little visitor there.
I did. My cat came in.
I hope that he or she is excited as well. That is awesome. Evyatar, I got to ask, do you even know who Caesar Flickerman is?
I do not. I'm pretty good with pop culture, but you haven't yet.
Kelsey, help him out.
I don't know either.
Catching fire. You know, I'll show the image. He's like the anchor man. That he's like the interviewer who is interviewing. Oh man, now I'm lost. I'm forgetting. What's that? Hunger Games. That's it. He's interviewing all the contestants.
Wow,
yeah, exactly. He goes like, he's super excited. All that. Okay, that's me right now. Let's start here. Conversion models now live. Evyatar, talk about it.
Yeah. So now what we have live is SKAN 4 conversion models. So you can go to your Singular dashboard, and you can go and you can create conversion models that are SKAN 4 specific, meaning they have P1, P2, P3. You're setting up 3 different postbacks, meaning that you are setting up the coarse conversion values as well as the fine conversion values. So we have it live. We have it for revenue models. We have it for events models, and the other model types are coming very soon.
Wow. Okay. Very, very cool. Kelsey, anything else we need to know about this right now?
I think basically this is here for people when they're ready. So just because it's ready doesn't mean people need to panic. I think is probably the most important thing. This is just trying to get people in a state of mind of, oh, we should start testing. We should start having those important conversations with our network partners and thinking about how we want to think about postback 2, postback 3, and those coarse conversion values.
You don't have to do it. If you don't do it, nobody's going to die. But it's there when you're ready. It's there to start testing. Can we see it, Evyatar? Can you show us what it looks like?
Definitely.
Okay, so talk us through. What are we seeing here?
So I'm going to start playing and... Okay, so what we're seeing here is a recording of the feature. So you will go to your SKAN page. You'll see that you are able to upgrade model to SKAN 4. And I want to just pause here for a second. What we've done is we said you don't have to start from scratch and kind of generate your SKAN 4 model like basically from scratch. But if you already have a SKAN 3 model, you can click the upgrade to SKAN 4. And we basically migrated it to SKAN 4, which is to make your life easier. And when you click on it, you'll see now that you have to set up 3 conversion models, one for P1, for P2, and for P3. So the P1 conversion model really has 2 types of models in there. So if I pause here for a second again, you can see that what I have here is a revenue model. So you can see the revenue buckets. You can see the conversion value, so 0, 5, and all the way down to 63. This is the fine conversion model. This is the same thing that we had in SKAN 3 and before that. The new element here in SKAN 4 is, of course, the coarse conversion model. So the way we're setting it up is that for every fine conversion model, so 1, 2, 3, etc., you need to fill out whether it's low, it's medium, or it's high. Because the coarse conversion model, just to remind everyone, only has 3 values. It can either be low, medium, or high. So this is where you would set up your, and
just to jump in right there, Evyatar, so that protects you in case you don't meet the crowd anonymity levels and you don't get the fine value, you still get something and it's aligned with your overall model. Is that correct?
Exactly. This is sort of this new tier that Apple has introduced where you don't have enough information, you don't have enough users in this campaign or installs to get the fine model, but you have enough to get something. So the reason we set it up this way, so that every coarse conversion value is mapped to a fine conversion value, as you see here, is that it makes it a lot easier for us to then give you consistent reporting. We are able to show you whether it's revenue or whether it's events. Through our modeling layer, we are able to show consistent reporting, and you will just see the revenue and the events that you were getting through the SKAN.
Perfect.
This is huge. This is a big improvement on SKAN 3. So before, we were just left with nulls. So this is a huge improvement into like extra data visibility and more signals.
And here I see we got postback 2 up.
Okay, so now you can see that, I moved from P1. Now I'm looking at P2. This is where you're setting up the conversion model for the second postback, what we call P2, which is the postback that you will get after 7 days. So it's essentially encoding all the information, whatever the user is doing between day 3 to day 7 after install. In this case, you can see it's a revenue model, and I only have to set up 3 buckets. It's not 63 like we had in P1. In P2, it's only the coarse conversion values, so it's only low, medium, or high.
I like that last one, goes to infinity.
and beyond.
And beyond. What is beyond infinity? I don't know. It's in SKAN 5.
Let's not go there yet.
And you can see as it goes that you can use different revenue events. So you can have AdMon revenue or in-app purchase revenue.
Hold it up again, Evyatar. Let us see what you got in there.
Yep.
In-app purchase revenue, AdMon revenue, all revenue. Nice.
Yep. And you can see I'm already on P3. So this is where you'd set up postback 3. You could have it be similar to what you have in postback 2 or different. Typically, you would expect to have different numbers here because a high or a medium user after 35 days might have a different expectation of revenue than what you would call a medium user after 7 days. So that's why you can set them up independently and kind of communicate what do you consider a low, a medium, and a high user after 35 days.
Nice. Nice. So this is what it looks like.
You save it and you're good to go. So you see after you saved it, in the conversion models page, you can see that now we split between the SKAN 4 models that are here. And you can see you have a P1, P2, P3, and you can kind of get visibility to what you set up. And that's separate from your older or SKAN 3 models that you have here.
Talk about how that works as we see this continue to play here. Talk about how that works. You've got SKAN 3 and SKAN 4 running at the same time. Is there conflict? How does somebody manage that?
That's a great question. First of all, I think it's really important to note that SKAN 3 and SKAN 4 are going to be running in parallel for a while. It's going to take some time before everything and everyone has transitioned over to SKAN 4. And what this chart is showing is when you can expect to get SKAN 3 data versus when you can expect to get SKAN 4 data. And it seems complex, but it's really not that bad. So here at the bottom, first and foremost, if the user's device is running on iOS 16 or below, it doesn't matter what anyone does. It doesn't matter what model you might be using or not using. You will get SKAN 3 postbacks. Where it gets more interesting is, of course, on devices that are already SKAN 4 ready, which is everything with iOS 16.1 and above. And here, what really determines whether you will get a SKAN 3 postback or a SKAN 4 postback is the click. And the click is determined by the ad network. That means when there's either an ad view or someone is clicking on an ad, the network registers that with SKAdNetwork. And they can register it as a SKAN 3 click, or they can register it as a SKAN 4 click. So if you are talking to your network and the network is saying, oh, we're still doing SKAN 3, that means they're here. But if your network is already starting to test or run SKAN 4 campaigns, that means you are here. The last component is whether you are running a SKAN 3 model or a SKAN 4 model. And this is controlled through the Singular UI. So this is what we just were looking at. When you transition to a SKAN 4 model, you actually transition here. And before that, you are actually here. What SKAN 4 model means is now we are able to encode coarse P1s, we're able to encode P2s and P3s. So to get the full scan for postbacks, you need to be here. You need to have both the network having a SKAN 4 click or encoding a SKAN 4 click, as well as singular encoding SKAN 4 conversion models. What you have here in this cell is the network is encoding a SKAN 4 click, but we are still running a SKAN 3 model. So even though theoretically you could get P2 and P3, you're not going to, because you're not on a SKAN 4 model yet. No one knows how to encode a low, medium, or high. So this is kind of like a weird, you're kind of SKAN 4, but you're not getting the full value of SKAN 4.
Which kind of means that if you're a marketer and you don't really even plan on utilizing SKAN 4 at the moment, you should just create a SKAN 4 model so it's running, so you'll capture any and all data that comes in. And I'm guessing on the back end, it'll just auto-magically work. Is that correct?
Yes. So that's a really great point. So even if you are on a SKAN 4 model, and let's say, to your point, John, let's say you're testing SKAN 4 with one network, but the majority of your scan traffic is still SKAN 3. And you're saying like, well, maybe I shouldn't transition to SKAN 4 because I don't want to ruin anything. What we've done, and we've made a pretty big effort for this, is to make sure that even if you're transitioning to your SKAN 4 model, your SKAN 3 data does not change at all. So you can continue running SKAN 3 campaigns. You can be comfortable that the data is the same, and start testing SKAN 4 in parallel.
Nice. And Kelsey, so if I'm doing that and, maybe 5% of my stuff, 10% of my stuff is SKAN 4 and the rest is all SKAN 3, it'll all just work in the dashboard, the data I get and everything will look normal and fine?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about anything. Singular's taken care of all of that for you, so it automatically works in the back end. And your data will be clean, which is the most important.
Evyatar, we saw, I believe, a revenue model. You mentioned that there's an events model for SKAN 4 conversion models. Is there more coming?
Definitely. We're rolling out with revenue and events, and we're going to be adding mixed models and what we call custom funnel models very soon.
Nice. Very soon means tomorrow, right?
3 hours.
I know R&D doesn't work like that.
ChatGPT can do it in like 30 seconds. What's going on here? Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Okay, so this is pretty exciting. People can start running SKAN 4 campaigns. They can start getting SKAN 4 postbacks. They are still covered on their SKAN 3 postbacks. Talk about the future 3 to 6 months. Do you think SKAN 4 becomes the majority of iOS postbacks? And if so, when?
So that's a very good question. It's a question that we're definitely asking ourselves all the time. Our kind of assumption is that, first of all, we are seeing SKAN 4 postbacks, what we call in the wild. So we are seeing them already, but it's all in the context of like sort of small scale tests. We're not seeing like SKAN 4 at scale running kind of like on production campaigns. We think that in about, let's say 3 months from now, we'll start seeing more sort of SKAN 4 campaigns at scale. And then how long will it take for the sort of complete transition for like, the majority of networks? Who's to say, but it will take a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, I believe there's still some SKAN 2 postbacks out there. So there's still some tiny ad networks that haven't updated to SKAN 3. And SKAN 4, that transition is much more complex than SKAN 2 to 3. So I'm guessing we're going to have SKAN 3 with us for quite some time in the future. And as long as you can just sort of make it work in people's dashboards, that's great. Well, it is exciting. It is a phase shift. It is a transition that I hope this is a big easy button, Kelsey. Tell me it's a big easy button for marketers, because there's so much going on here. There's postback windows that differ for each postback. There's delay periods after them, and those periods are different as well. And of course, just going from 1 to 3, there's so much more complexity here. Is this? Can you give us some comfort here? Is this a big easy button in the cloud?
I think it's as easy as it gets for having such a complicated like framework to deal with. I think Singular's done a really good job with making the UI as intuitive as possible. And I think in terms of the data perspective, we're giving you the raw data right now, which is great. But I think when it comes to SKAN Advanced Analytics, which we're working on right now during Q2, things are going to be really easy from a performance perspective, right? We're going to get more accurate data. We're going to get longer cohorts, and Singular's doing all of that modeling work for you so that it's very easy. The report is going to be very similar to what you're used to pre-iOS 14, right? You have your model data. So even if you don't pass crowd anonymity, like we're filling in those gaps for you, and you have your D7, your D35 cohorted data. So I think it's as easy as it gets. I don't think it's like a big fat easy button, but I think we've done the best we can with all of the limitations and restrictions. And I think Evyatar and his team has done a great job.
First, I believe Kelsey said it's like pre-iOS 14. I mean, like, wow. I'm guessing there's some caveats in there. There's a grain of salt or two that you need to sprinkle on that. Evyatar, we've talked a lot about what marketers are doing. We've talked a lot about the data that they're seeing. There's a piece that we haven't mentioned here, which is the ad networks and the optimizations that they need to do based on what I, as a marketer, have defined in the model that I set up in the Singular UI that we just saw. I want these types of users who do that types of things. This is what I value. How do they get that data? How does that work? How do they know about my conversion models?
Sure. So generally the way it works is that we expose an API called the Conversion Models API that the networks can then ping that API, and it tells them for this app, for this customer, for this advertiser, conversion value 1 means this, conversion value 2 means revenue of $3 to $5, conversion value 3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that we just released is also an improvement to that API that makes it SKAN4 compatible. So now when a network asks us, give me the conversion model, we're also saying, conversion value 1 means $1 revenue, and low means this range, and medium means that range, both for P1 and then also for the more advanced P2 and P3. So the networks can now start optimizing off of this sort of cohorted signal that SKAN4 enables.
Nice. And that is hopefully also where the ecosystem at large sees a huge benefit, sees a huge improvement from SKAN3 to SKAN4, because there's more granularity, more information for ad networks to do optimization around, and therefore give hopefully marketers more of what they want in better and quicker ways. Guys, thank you so much for taking this time. Evyatar, I think you're kind of on vacation right now, and it is late. Thank you, Kelsey. It's early for you. Have a great day. Thank you so much for sharing all this info.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.